Harvard astronomers have warned that the interstellar object 3I Atlas, which originated outside our solar system, could now approach very close to Mars's orbit. NASA is already monitoring it, as calculations indicate that the possibility of a collision between its path and Mars's orbit cannot be completely ruled out. If this happens, it will be one of the biggest events in space science. The question is, will 3I Atlas actually collide with Mars or simply pass by? And if it does, how significant will the consequences be? Stay tuned until the end, because we'll reveal things that even NASA may not be saying clearly. So let's start the video. But before that, subscribe to the channel to be the first to see such videos. Whenever a celestial threat is discussed, the first names that come to mind are major institutions like NASA and Harvard. Recently, Harvard astronomers warned that the interstellar object 3I Atlas could approach Mars's orbit, and NASA immediately began monitoring it. But before understanding this warning and alert, it's important to understand how scientists first observed it and why it became such a major issue. 3I Atlas was first observed in April 2020 by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, ATLAS telescope in Hawaii. This is why the Atlas is included in its name. When this object first appeared, scientists were unsure whether it was an ordinary comet or something else. Gradually, as its orbit was studied, it became clear that its speed and direction were unusual. It did not match any orbit in our solar system. This is why it was called an interstellar object, meaning a body that is not part of our solar system but came from outside. This wasn't the first time an interstellar visitor had arrived in our neighborhood. Previously, in 2017, a mysterious object named Oumuamua entered our solar system. Its shape, speed, and behavior were so strange that scientists are still debating whether it was a comet, an asteroid, or something else unknown. Following this, in 2019, 2I Borisov appeared, proving to be an interstellar comet. And now, in 2020, 3I Atlas entered at number 3, hence the 3I in its name. Scientists are even more interested in 3I Atlas because its brightness and fragmentation make it even more mysterious. When it was discovered, it broke into several pieces shortly afterward, but its trajectory remains extremely unique. It's moving so fast that it's clear it's not a permanent resident of our solar system. This is why both Harvard and NASA issued warnings. Because if an interstellar object can reach an orbit close to Mars, this event becomes significant not just for Mars, but for the entire solar system. Imagine an extraterrestrial guest traveling billions of kilometers to reach our neighborhood, and we know very little about it. This is as frightening as it is exciting for scientists. Its current trajectory. Whenever an interstellar object enters our solar system, scientists first determine its trajectory. This determines how close it will come to the planets and the likelihood of a collision. This is exactly what was done with 3I Atlas. Initially, astronomers were unsure about its exact direction, as it had broken into several pieces, retaining a comet-like structure. But as more data was received, scientists calculated its speed and angle to arrive at an estimate. According to recent calculations, 3I Atlas is transiting our solar system at a very high speed. Its speed is so high that it cannot be bound by the gravitational force of any planet for long. However, its path may pass near the orbit of Mars. This is why astronomers from NASA and Harvard are especially vigilant about it. Scientists say that while it cannot be said with certainty that it will collide with Mars, the possibility of it coming close cannot be ruled out. Now the question arises, how close will this approach be? In fact, measuring distance in space is very different from Earth's standards. Even if an object passes Mars by a few 100,000 kilometers, scientists consider it a close approach. Preliminary calculations suggest that 3I Atlas could come dangerously close to Mars's orbit. However, close doesn't necessarily mean a direct collision. In terms of cosmic parameters, it's possible for it to pass millions of kilometers away without colliding. But even a slight deviation in its speed could change this situation. This uncertainty is worrying scientists. Whenever an interstellar body approaches our neighborhood, it's difficult to determine its exact trajectory. Its speed, gravitational pull, and the dispersion of its fragments all complicate calculations. That's why scientists are recalculating its trajectory with each new data. If it merely skims Mars's orbit, it will be a historic flyby. But if its direction changes even slightly, the possibility of a collision cannot be ignored. And this suspense is keeping the entire world on its toes. NASA and telescopes. Monitoring. Whenever something unusual occurs in space, NASA is the first to look. And that's exactly what happened this time. As soon as scientists predicted that the interstellar object 3I Atlas might approach Mars's orbit, NASA immediately alerted its network. But NASA isn't alone. Europe's ESA, Japan's JAXA, and major observatories around the world are constantly monitoring it. NASA has begun using its most reliable technologies to track this object. The Pan-STARRS telescope in the United States, which has previously observed interstellar objects like Oumuamua, is closely tracking it. Additionally, the Hubble Space Telescope is periodically taking images of 3I Atlas to understand its brightness, disintegration process, and direction. NASA's NEOWISE mission, specifically designed to discover comets and asteroids, is scanning the object in infrared to determine its true size and composition. Looking at Europe, the ESA, European Space Agency, is not far behind. Their Gaia telescope, which records the positions of stars and planets, is now helping to understand the trajectories of interstellar bodies like 3I Atlas. Additionally, the Very Large Telescope, VLT, located in Chile, is taking high-resolution images of the object. Using these images, scientists are trying to determine what kind of material 3I Atlas is made of and the direction in which its fragments are scattering. Along with NASA and ESA, Japan's JAXA and India's ISRO are also collecting data from their respective observatories. India's Hanle and Pune telescopes are also part of this mission. This clearly shows that monitoring 3I Atlas has now become a priority not just for one country, but for the entire world. But the question is, why are scientists making so much noise? The reason is quite simple. 3I Atlas is an interstellar object, meaning it's not a permanent member of our solar system. It came from another star system billions of kilometers away. When such an alien visitor arrives in our neighborhood, it proves to be a goldmine for scientists. Its speed, its composition, and its direction all provide clues to what exists outside our solar system. NASA scientists believe that tracking this object is valuable because it provides crucial information for planetary defense. Imagine if a similar object were to one day approach Earth's orbit, we would have to be prepared to avoid it. Recently, NASA, through the DART mission, deflected a small asteroid, demonstrating that humanity is now gaining the ability to deflect space threats. Tracking 3I Atlas is part of this preparation. Another reason is that 3I Atlas is constantly changing. Its surface is cracking, fragments are being separated, and its brightness can suddenly become brighter and dimmer. This behavior tells scientists what elements are present within it and how long it will last. Therefore, each new image, each new piece of data, reveals a little more about its mystery. NASA and other space agencies are not only investigating the possibility of a collision with this object, but also treating it as a natural laboratory. Consider that when something comes from outside our solar system, it brings with it information from that space. This means that 3i Atlas gives us the opportunity to understand the conditions between other stars and the types of material present there. Collision risk. Whenever an interstellar object is mentioned, the most pressing question is whether it will collide with a planet. This is also the case with 3i Atlas. Currently, scientists believe its path could pass very close to the orbit of Mars. However, the likelihood of a collision is still uncertain. In fact, determining the exact trajectory of an object in space is extremely difficult. Its speed, its fragments, and the gravitational force of nearby planets can all alter its direction. This is why scientists are re-evaluating the calculations with each new data. Current data suggests that the probability of a collision is low, but it cannot be said that the risk is absolutely zero. And this uncertainty is keeping scientists on their toes. Now, suppose in the rare event that 3i Atlas actually collides with Mars. What scenarios could emerge? The first and most obvious consequence would be the formation of a massive crater. This impact would be so powerful that it could create a crater hundreds of kilometers wide on the Martian surface. If the fragment were very large, the energy released by the impact could be equivalent to millions of atomic bombs. Another scenario could be that the impact would raise so much debris and dust that the Martian atmosphere would be obscured for months. This could severely impact NASA missions operating there, such as the Perseverance rover or the InSight lander. Dust would accumulate on their solar panels, disrupting the data they receive. A third scenario is that the debris from the impact would spread far and wide into space. If its trajectory is favorable, it could reach Earth's orbit. While this possibility is extremely low, it cannot be completely ruled out. This is why scientists frequently refer to the worst-case scenario. Now let's discuss past data. History shows that collisions between planets and comets, asteroids, are not impossible. About 65 million years ago, a massive asteroid struck Earth, leading to the extinction of the dinosaurs. More recently, in 1994, scientists observed a comet named Shoemaker-Levy 9 disintegrate and directly hit Jupiter. The impact created dark spots in the planet's atmosphere, which remained visible for weeks. This event is still remembered today as a warning that the possibility of a collision always exists. In other words, past data teaches us that collisions between large celestial bodies and planets are not impossible. The only difference is that the probability is very low, but when it does happen, the effects are felt for millions of years. This is why scientists are monitoring 3i Atlas so closely. Mars impact. If the interstellar object 3i Atlas were to actually collide with Mars, its impact wouldn't be limited to the red planet, but would shake the entire scientific world. First, let's discuss the impact on Mars's surface. This object may resemble a comet and be scattered, but if a large piece of it were to collide with Mars, a massive explosion would occur. The impact could be so powerful that it would create a crater several hundred kilometers wide on Mars's surface. This crater would be similar to the ones we see today on Earth and the Moon, but the difference is that it would be a historic event, forming before our very eyes. Now imagine, if such a large collision were to occur, what would happen to NASA's missions already there? Currently, the Perseverance rover and Curiosity rover are operating continuously on Mars. These rovers are studying the Martian soil, rocks, and atmosphere. Additionally, the InSight lander also records geological activity there. But if the collision occurs too close, these missions could be directly threatened. First, the shock waves and dust clouds could cover their solar panels, cutting off power to the rovers and halting their operation. Furthermore, The heat and radiation from the collision could be so intense that it could damage electronic systems. Dust storms on Mars sometimes last for months, but if this collision were to occur, an even more severe and long-lasting dust layer could cover the entire planet. In that case, rovers like Perseverance and Curiosity would be completely dark. Now the question is, could such a collision alter the future of Mars? The answer is, yes, it is possible. First, the collision could alter Mars's climate for a long time. The temperature there could drop or suddenly rise for a short time. This would affect the gases present in Mars's atmosphere. Scientists also believe that such a large impact could affect Mars's polar ice caps. If the ice there melts, large amounts of gases could be released into the atmosphere, making the Martian surface even more unstable. Another important consideration is future human missions. Both NASA and SpaceX are planning to send humans to Mars in the coming decades. If this collision occurs, those plans could be called into question. Because the environment where humans are supposed to land would be completely altered. And if a new, massive crater is formed on the surface, investigation of that area would become even more important. But there's a positive side to this as well. If a collision occurs, scientists will have the opportunity to observe firsthand what a large celestial body collides with a planet. The last such event on Earth occurred millions of years ago, but no one witnessed it. If this event were to occur on Mars, it would become a treasure trove of knowledge for future generations. Earth connection. Whenever the possibility of a collision in space is discussed, the first question that comes to mind is, could its impact reach Earth? This same question is also lingering in discussions about 3I Atlas and Mars. First, let's be clear. 3I Atlas will not have a direct impact on Earth, as its path is toward Mars, not near our orbit. However, there are some indirect risks that cannot be ruled out. If this object does indeed collide with Mars, the impact could spread a significant amount of debris into space. These fragments can range from small stones to several kilometers in size. While most of their energy will be scattered in the direction of Mars, some fragments can be converted into gravitational pull and travel farther. This debris could reach Earth's orbit in the future. The second possibility is space debris. When an interstellar object collides with a planet, its debris doesn't remain in one place, but can be scattered millions of kilometers away. If one of these fragments comes toward Earth, even if it is very small, it will transform into a dazzling meteor upon entering Earth's atmosphere. Small fragments will burn up and disappear, but larger fragments could reach Earth's surface. Such circumstances are extremely rare, but the possibility cannot be completely ruled out. The third aspect is gravitational changes. When a large object collides with Mars, it will also impact Mars's orbit. While this effect may be very subtle, it could impact the balance of our solar system in the long run. Imagine, even a slight change in Mars's speed or tilt would affect nearby orbits. And since Earth is Mars's neighbor, we could feel the brunt of that change too. Now let's discuss the opinions and debates among scientists. Harvard and NASA scientists differ on this topic. Some NASA scientists say that a 3I Atlas collision with Mars is a highly unlikely event. They believe it will simply pass close to Mars's orbit, resulting in a historic flyby. However, some Harvard astronomers warn that we shouldn't take this lightly. They say that accurately measuring the trajectory of interstellar objects is extremely difficult. Even a slight change can increase the likelihood of a collision. This disagreement divides the scientific world. On one side are those who believe the risk is very low, and we need not worry. On the other side are those who say we should prepare for the worst-case scenario. The media and public reaction are also fueling this debate. Some news outlets are frightening people by calling it a Mars doomsday scenario, while some scientific media channels are trying to explain that it's merely a scientific curiosity, not a direct threat. The news is spreading even faster on social media. Some see it as a new beginning, that the collision will further unravel the mysteries of Mars. Others are presenting it as an indirect threat to Earth. The direct threat to Earth is minimal, but indirect effects cannot be ruled out. Debris will be spread throughout space, gravitational changes are possible, and this event could make us even more aware of the dangers of the universe. Scientists continue to debate, but one thing is certain. Whether or not a collision occurs, this event reminds humanity that we live in a vast and unpredictable universe. Every time an interstellar object enters our solar system, it reminds us of one thing: we still know very little about the universe. 3I Atlas is the latest example. It belongs neither to Earth, Mars, nor any of our planets. It's a mysterious guest from outside, and its presence compels us to understand these objects more deeply. And now the final and biggest question: will 3I Atlas collide with Mars, or simply pass by as the most mysterious flyby in history? No one has the answer to this today. Scientists are constantly gathering data and performing calculations, but the universe is always unpredictable. This suspense compels us to look ahead. So, friends, what do you think? Will Mars escape this interstellar guest, or will we witness the biggest event in space science in the coming months? Please share your opinion. And yes, if you want to stay with me on this mysterious journey, subscribe to the channel. In future videos, we'll continue to bring you more cosmic updates and mysteries of the universe. Remember, your subscription strengthens not only this channel, but also this journey of knowledge.